You know, Delicious in Dungeon should probably chill just a little bit after episode 8. I mean, you almost in a comedic way try to kill off Leos last episode with his tapeworm of death. Sure, maybe he was fine, he was gonna be just fine. I mean, we've seen that you can start a show off by having the MC's sister ate by a dragon, and yeah, she's probably actually dead, but we can revive her, it's fine, just give her a month's time and she won't be fully digested. This episode comes around, they give you like some diabetes inducing first half of the episode. Second half, oh shit, you know how we were about to pack up and leave because our boy's good enough? Yeah, we're just gonna shoot her leg, gonna shoot her arm. She's literally getting pierced by this like water spirit. And by the end of it, I'm just like, the way this show can be so casually like charming and funny and out of pocket, but then it reminds you that at the end of the day, this is a dungeon, and dungeons are meant to mostly try to kill you. There's an ecosystem. Like, hell, that was like the entire reason episode 7 ended the way they did. There was a lot of great food, but you were trying to restore the balance after that giant beast was pretty much disrupting the flow. And pretty much we just go back to like, yeah, this is a dangerous place. And now they're pretty much stuck not being able to do a whole lot until they, well, have someone come in and help them out because their mage is pretty much down for the count. Like, the way they go from being so cute and wholesome and just funny to then just remind you how brutal a dungeon can be, and like, I didn't know what the hell they were gonna do. The fact that the game plan after they caught her was run, I mean, that kind of reminds you that dungeons are meant to be a little freaky, and this is kind of a reminder that, as wholesome as this show can be, it's very easy and very quick for any of these characters to go down for the count, and it's kind of interesting when you think about that they made Leos of all characters go down for the count in a funny way because he ate some tainted meat, and then the very next episode they blast our girl. It's like, oh, yeah, Delicious in Dungeon can mess with you, and it's gonna be interesting if this is only episode 8 where the second core is gonna go in terms of, oh shit, character casually loses an arm. Oh, don't worry, we can reattach it most likely, but I guess we'll see. Now I have a full live reaction to episode 8 of Delicious in Dungeon over on my Patreon if you want to see my full uncut thoughts. They're over there if you're interested. I'll be honest, I did not even realize that was the MC's sister for most of that flashback. I don't remember if she's always had her eyes closed in what we've seen of her, but I was just like, oh, who's this slow girl? Like, she was cute and sweet, but I was like, oh, she doesn't look like she can do jack shit. She's stumbling this, that, and the third. And then we see the big fire blast go off, and then when she starts explaining how she's doing it, I'm like, oh, like, she literally is just randomly grabbing some soil from the dungeon that she found. But it's kind of sweet seeing, like, their first, like, proper interaction, because you have this like honor student Marcel who's doing everything right. She's being worshipped on a pedestal, talking about this like little like this project where you take some soil, you're trying to like, basically it's like growing plants in a jar, but in this case we're like cultivating fairies and spirits and different things like that. I thought hers was gonna rupture like a volcano going off. No, hers was fine. It was a nice little flame, and then in comes our girl Falin. He's just like, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm doing really, but I'll put it out for, it's like, it's hilarious. It's so cute. And the idea of just being dragged into the dungeon, and because when you look at Marcel's like idea in her goal, it's very noble and righteous. The idea of like trying to craft like the perfect ecosystem of a dungeon that makes it so, you know, stuff like the mandrakes and stuff like that we don't have to be like force things to suffer or do things in a cruel way, but just keep things healthy and moving at a very steady and, you know, progressive type way. And the idea of following someone who takes you into this dungeon and, you know, you're ready to throw hands, slimes are coming up to the sunlight, and she's just teaching all these little things that she never really thought of. And I thought it was a great little character piece because, I mean, the whole show is basically based around trying to find the MC's sister, right? And the idea of what that sister has done, especially for two of our characters, that being, of course, Leos as well as Marcel. The idea of getting to really see how each of them cares about her in a different way. Obviously, you know, brother, and the fact that, you know, she was always kind of like the words of explaining how the brother is very clueless and dense, but don't worry. And honestly, the fact that the flashback of her feeling so much more clueless than I ever realized in terms of what we saw in present day stuff in terms of when the anime was kicking off, you know, it's interesting to see just how much more clueless Leos actually is when the sister was so clueless in a way back in her school life, but she's so sweet. The idea of just like getting taught and just seeing like that bond, it's very clear we're gonna have more of these types of flashbacks. It's not just gonna be a one and done thing over the course of the run, especially because it's not a 1 core, we have a 2 core here, so there's probably gonna be at least one more moment, if not a second one, because I'm not sure if we'll ever actually get to the point of like reaching the goal of seeing the sister, because who the hell knows? Like, they got a game plan in terms of campsites, but this could very well be the type of story where the author wants to go the route of, oh, they get to the sister at a decent pace and then there's a completely different story we do, or they want to go the route of we save the sister and then there's the journey back home and then the manga's over. I don't know which, I don't want to know which, but it's, you know, there's a couple of different ways to go about this and they're all exciting. But I actually really liked what they did in terms of like using that little flashback to show how she's a very serious person and she has some great ideas, and the idea of like that shocking realization that maybe you're not as talented as you first thought, you know, especially when everyone's worshiping you, and then here comes this girl who blasts the hole through a roof because of her flames, and then insert the second half of the episode where we're just trying to protect everyone. She's having to walk on water, no one else can walk on water, this thing's going just a mile a minute. The speed, everything about the animation was so Trigger through and through. Like, Trigger has this way of just so casually popping off in ways you're not expecting, because the show looks good in general, and then she'll just start running and she'll like be bending and doing all these crazy animation moves, and I'm like, where did it come from and why does it look so good? But man, like once it starts really piercing them, and I'm just like, what the hell are they gonna do? And then insert my boy with the core strength for days, because like immediately when he's ready to catch her, I knew, I was like, well, if you catch her, you're gonna fall in, right? Like that's just physics, like it's gonna pull you down. And the fact that they gave him that, like, he's shaking, but he's like, you know, he just goes so crazy with that art direction. I'm like, never skip leg day, never skip your core day, man. Because he actually did something that would normally force him into the water with, and I was just like, that's just so great. Like, this is a really, really good show, and I like the fact that you can take time to focus on any of our central four, and you're gonna have a good time. Like, Senshi's still my favorite overall, like, I don't see that changing anytime soon. But whether we're focusing on a boy who's trying to go after his sister, but most importantly has a love for food that is just so weird, it's just so fun to follow. A girl with a passion to make the perfect type of dungeon environment and also just seems like a sweetheart. I mean, I felt a little bad for her that all she got was liver because, well, she needs to pump those iron levels back up and everyone else is eating ribs and tail and this, that, and the third. And she's like, bitch, just give me something else. I'm sick of the same bite of liver. You know, we also have, of course, our little dwarven friend here, or halfling, I think is what he actually is. You know, I love his trap stuff. He's probably the least developed out of the four, but I'm really interested to see how he's going to open up more and more over the course of it. And Senshi's just self-explanatory, but this was a good episode. It was a little unpredictable for sure, and honestly, I like the vibe of it. You know, that flashback kind of gave me Little Witch Academia vibes, and then everything else after that was just what I've come to love and expect from Delicious in Dungeon. Now, let me know what you thought of this week's episode, because I definitely thought it was a great one, change of pace, but damn, can you guys just stop trying to kill off your main characters? Like, this is 2 episodes in a row. Third episode's gonna come in and Senshi's gonna break his leg or something. Like, Jesus Christ, give him a break. Let me know how you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more. And like I mentioned, we got a full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Ricardo Pelego, Squealeton, More Rudd, Shadow Cyber Demon, Benjamin Margolis, and Brandon Logren. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.